Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday night class.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome to Dustin's office. So it's nice to be in here.
Yeah.
It's not
cozy.
Yeah, it is cozy. So we're doing this because if you're watching later, Paducah is getting ready to have some ice storms. So we decided best to keep everybody
Be safe than
inside.
sorry.
Yeah, better safe than sorry on this sort of thing. But we wanted to still provide you with a class, some discussion. And so we were really racking our brains on what to do for kind of a one-off.
Right.
So what did we come up with?
Well, we just kind of wanted to give you an insight, like an inside look of what the ministry staff works through when we are thinking about the congregation.
Yeah.
And, really showing our care and our love for what we do and believing in what we are doing.
Yeah.
So.
And those discussions don't happen in a vacuum so that we can feel good that we had a discussion.
Of course.
There's always going to be a practical application.
Right.
And so in the case of what we're going to walk through, you can kind of see it back here, and we're going to expand on it. This is very much a model.
Most definitely.
It's not a hard and fast step-by-step process, but we would encourage you as you're listening through it to not only think about how it works to yourself,
Right.
That personal application, but also it's kind of a clue into the approach that's going to be taken for your Bible classes.
Yeah. Wednesday nights,
Yeah.
right?
Which here's a good time to plug for the spring quarter here in 2022, your Wednesday night Bible class.
Yeah, Wednesday night's going to be looking at the life of, and we're going to be looking at, different people throughout the Bible and how they went through their lives and what they changed. Absolutely. Where were they and where did they grow and how did they grow and what trials and things they went through that caused them to go through this process.
Yeah. Because spiritual growth is something that we should all desire.
Absolutely.
It's something very clearly laid out in Scripture. Over and over, it never says that you're converted to Christ and Merry Christmas at the end. There's more to it.
Right.
So we may not go through a lot of individual people, but you're going to be doing that on Wednesday nights.
Right.
But you're always going to be invited into, so where do I fit? How can I grow in this process? Maybe do I desire spiritual growth? Right.
And I think that's something maybe we need to talk about more in the church is spiritual growth, being spiritually minded. You look at sections of Scripture like Colossians chapter 3, and Paul encourages the church there to set your mind on things above and seek those things.
Yeah.
And that's that idea of being spiritually minded and in that process of where we're going with it. Where are we at, honestly, and doing an honest evaluation of, am I in this process of spiritual potential? Maybe I'm not even there yet. Maybe I'm still seeking. I'm still wanting to learn. I'm still wanting to witness something that really causes a change.
Yeah. I'm still the one looking from the outside almost.
Yeah.
Trying to decide, is this what I want for my life? Is Jesus worth it?
Of course.
Sort of thing. Yeah.
And then you moving into that from spiritual potential to spiritual growth into spiritual maturity. And what that looks like is, on Wednesday night as we look at specific people who have grown in the course of what we read about in the pages of the Bible.
Yeah. So for those of you who are kind of looking and you're seeing the board, Dustin's going to add some stuff to it. We're going to write as we talk through a few of the details here. But just know that, especially at the end, I'm going to put up an image of this. That way you can really see it clearly. And that way if you want to screenshot it, you want to pause it to help with you considering these things tonight through the week, that'll all be there. But we'll have it on the board. We'll work through it, and then it'll be up at the end of the screen or at the end of the video as well.
And remember, it's just a model. It's just something we work through, as part of our process of, going from Monday to Sunday.
Yeah.
And what we're looking forward to as the spring comes and what we're looking forward to in encouraging the congregation as we look at these concepts of spiritual growth.
Yeah, because it really is, we joke that we're inviting you into Dustin's office or whatever, but it doesn't matter whose office it is. We're constantly sitting down and bouncing ideas and thinking through.
Yeah.
And so this is just kind of a culmination of a couple of those conversations that we wanted to share with you and hopefully encourage along the way.
And hopefully it will spark some conversation in your families and the ones you're sitting there with, or maybe a phone call that you make later to somebody else, and maybe spark that interest in spiritual growth and really developing those ideas and that mindset of how do we go and how do we progress and how do we grow spiritually?
Yeah. So before you give us some details
Yeah.
on some of these, Dustin, the first thing I do want to kind of notice, it doesn't look like you're building a stair step.
Right.
There's not going to be like a continual climb and a finishing point.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So we do want to set it up as there's the process that you'll go through, but it's not a clear finish this step, go to
Right.
this step, and then you've accomplished the goal.
Right. And I think that's something we struggle with in our lives, where we feel like we have accomplished something, therefore we feel maybe no need to grow further. And that is not a biblical approach to this concept.
All right. So with that in mind, kind of, I guess you want to start
Yeah.
with that first part?
Yeah, so let's look at this first one with this idea of somebody out in the world, maybe a younger Christian, maybe it's a teenager or a preteen who has grown up in the church and they've seen their mom and dad act in spiritual ways or seen certain things, but they're not really quite sure if all this Bible or all this spirituality or all this religion or however we want to preface it is for them.
Yeah.
So we find ourselves kind of, if you were to imagine this, and by the end of this will be a complete circle idea.
Yeah.
But imagine this being somebody who's not in the rotation yet, quite yet.
So this is kind of the on-ramp.
Right, yeah,
You know,
the on-ramp. Yeah, we're getting onto the highway, right? You're merging on to 24, and you got to get with it because the semi-truck's coming, right?
So, yeah, you're looking out at something, and so whether it's that younger kid or maybe it's an older person who's just kind of been skeptical for a while, they're not on the outside looking in as in kept out of something, but they're considering these things.
Right. And let's also state that as we go through these process, age is not a factor. You know, we could have a 80-year-old person that's getting on the highway.
Yeah.
You know, and we could have a younger person who's already growing and maturing. I know sometimes growing up in the church, you always seem to place an age with different steps of our lives. So.
Yeah. As it happens.
Yeah, right. So now this person's out here and they're getting on the highway and we kind of progress. And maybe you've seen something. Maybe you've seen the life of somebody and you're looking at that person and you're going, man, I want what they have. I want that confidence. I want that hope in heaven. I want that joy that they have. I want to be able to deal with trials the way they deal with trials because they're always looking to something greater.
Yeah.
And they're witnessing that.
Yeah. And hopefully, again, all of this is grounded on it's not just the person or the thing, it's all directing them to Jesus.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Our main focus, of course.
Right. So they've seen these things, they've heard these things. What eventually moves us into this first one you've got up here, spiritual potential? Or what's a characteristic there?
I think as you move into this portion, and we were talking about this earlier, this word potential, right? We don't want to look at this as a negative word. You know, I don't know how many times in my life I've done something maybe not good enough, and somebody comes up to me and says, "You have potential."
Yeah.
We're not looking at that way, but we're looking at it more of a, hey, we do have some desire.
Right.
We do have some conviction, you know.
For our science people, you have kinetic energy stored, ready to use.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. It's like, I know for sure God is who he says he is.
Yeah.
I know for sure Jesus Christ is the Son of God. And I want to grow.
Yeah.
And I think really a big aspect of this, I forgot my marker over there, but it'll be up later on.
Okay.
I mean, I can write this idea of
What do we got?
a growth mindset.
Try to give you some stability.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that idea of the growth mindset of somebody who has a desire to grow.
Yeah.
They have a desire to want to study the Bible deeper. You know, they're not satisfied with maybe 30 minutes of Bible all week. You know, they want to get better at knowing Christ, at knowing God's word, at allowing the Spirit to work in their life. And they have this potential.
Okay. So right in that potential area, they might have the growth mindset that's ready to get them moving, but they're looking for opportunities?
Absolutely. Okay. Looking for opportunities. You know, they're not satisfied with skimming through the Bible.
Yeah.
You know, we may have heard the analogy before used of this idea of scuba diving versus snorkeling, right? Skimming across the top of the water as opposed to swimming down deep and really seeing the beauty of the coral reef or whatever God's laying out.
Yeah.
But this also takes a conviction.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is where maybe seeing that coral reef, you've seen it and you now desire some sort of change or deeper connection because of what you've seen, read, heard, studied.
Right.
You know.
Or going back to what you witnessed that really puts you into this motion.
Yeah. You're no longer satisfied with whatever position in life you were in, which in the case of like a spiritual growth mindset, you notice the sin and the failings in your life.
Right.
You're no longer satisfied to live with it. Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. So you have this desire, this growth mindset, this conviction of it, but you're also willing to give the effort. You know, it's taking time out of your busy day, and we're all busy. It seems to be getting busier. It's like, man, there are days that I just want to lose my phone, and I don't. Just the busyness, the craziness.
And we can create busyness.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, that's the funny thing. We say, oh, well, if these were out of my life, I would have so much more time.
Right.
We can find the most mundane things. So,
and maybe even that example is not somebody who's here yet. This is somebody who wants to make that time of day. Maybe they're setting their alarm a little early and wanting to really grow. They're going to put the effort into their Bible study.
Yeah.
They're going to put their effort into being at Bible classes that offer study time.
Yeah.
So there's an effort aspect, and there's an effort aspect in each of these as we work through them.
And obviously, we don't have time to go through everything that could be part of that effort.
Of course.
I mean, we could go through prayer and study and personal, all these other things. Just know that kind of help fill in the blanks. We're just laying out some of the ideas now.
And like I said, this is just a model. This is just us brainstorming. This is
so
how my brain functions.
Yeah, it's good. It's nice to use the whiteboard and lay everything out.
Yeah.
So then you've got the person who's seen it. They now kind of have that desire, that conviction. They're putting in a little bit of effort, and now we're moving over into this spiritual growth.
Right.
Like what does it look like for someone who is now in the growth stage?
Right. This is somebody who has a more continual aspect of it. It's, I think of somebody starting the new year with a New Year's resolution to become more fit, and they work through it, and they really have a desire to do it. They work at it for a couple weeks or maybe even a couple months, and there's really not a lot of heart behind it. There's really not a lot of maybe going back and witnessing what God is doing in our life. I think one of the main aspects when I think about my life personally is recognizing when God is working in my life. Recognizing when the Spirit's working in my life. Recognizing, instead of saying, well, that was lucky, or that happened by chance, going, God is working. And this person sees those things regularly.
So it's like, I've been praying for opportunities to arise. I've been praying for these changes to take place. And sometimes when they're so incremental in our life, we don't notice them in the moment.
Right.
But are we taking the time to look back and see, okay, this is what's happening?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So you have this idea where not only are you seeing God working in your life, but this person has a spiritual priority. I understand, like we mentioned earlier, life is busy and crazy.
Yeah.
But this person always makes time
Okay.
for his spiritual growth, and that's a priority in their life.
Yeah.
Maybe it is spending time with your kids in Bible study, and that's a priority. Our giving is a priority.
Yeah.
And those spiritual things, those ideas that we set our mind on, that's a priority for us. And I think in this crazy world, I know personally for me, that's tough. Where I'm at in my life, I'd like to put myself on the map somewhere, but maybe we're in between somewhere, and we may have the growth mindset, but maybe we're still working with something else.
Yeah.
And
it's like we're doing it, but we're not giving it the priority that comes here.
Right.
It's more of the if I get around to it sort of thing.
Right.
So that's some of that change.
Right.
Maybe if people are wondering, so what is the difference between growth mindset and then the growth
Absolutely.
stage,
And you
almost.
look at these, and this person still maintains a growth mindset.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
I mean, this person still wants to continue to grow and to spend that mental energy. You know, I like that concept. As Dan and I were talking about it a couple weeks ago, is now we've had this conversation, Jed and I and Dan and I, and he mentioned that idea of that mental energy. And how much mental energy are we putting into our spiritual growth?
Yeah. Is it we're giving the remainder at the end of the day, which sometimes
Right.
isn't there?
Right.
Or are we dedicating that early on or throughout the day?
Right.
Or
Right.
whatever works there.
Right.
Okay.
Another aspect in this that really brings it back with a biblical foundation is that concept in Matthew 6:33 of seeking first the kingdom of God.
Oh,
Seeking
yeah.
first his reign.
Yeah.
You know, this person witnesses something and they want Christ reigning in their life.
Yeah.
So they move to this. This person still desires Christ reigning in their life. And now this person has made priorities to really allow Christ to reign supreme
Yeah.
in their life.
It's almost the, they're in the same, when he's given the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
It's no longer just saying, thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
Yeah.
It's, I really want his reign to happen.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
I want my life to reflect
Right.
that that's the case.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I guess now we come to the last.
Is it the
last part when you become a spiritually mature person?
Right.
And
what is it? And I don't know if I have the answer to that one yet. As Jed and I were putting something together for tonight, I'm sitting there over there nervous behind my desk going, I'm not sure we're ready. But understand, this is something we want to present as a model to work towards.
Yeah. And like we were saying, when you come to the Wednesday classes or different things, you're probably going to hear this fleshed out and developed
Absolutely.
with more specific examples from people in the Bible.
Right.
But what does a spiritually mature person look like? And you've got a couple ideas.
Yeah.
This is definitely where I would throw it to those of you who are watching.
Yeah.
Hopefully you haven't been quiet in the chat the whole time. But if you have, now is your reminder that you can comment down below if you're watching on YouTube or live, if you're on the live stream right now. But what is a mature person? What do you think of when you think of a mature person spiritually in your life?
Yeah.
Okay? So that you may have more ideas than we do right now.
Right, absolutely. And like we mentioned before, of course, this one still has that growth mindset.
Right?
Right?
Oh, yeah.
This one is still exerting that mental energy.
Yeah.
Setting the priorities straight. But this one proposes something a little more than maybe this person who is growing, but maybe they're growing, but they're not quite ready for, I guess, would be a good time to write in the last arrow.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because we get to this point, and like we've talked about before already, that it seems like in the world, we have this saying, we've made it.
Oh, yeah.
We've gotten to where we want to be. Whether it's, I'm 65, I get to retire.
Yeah, they've got their house, they got their car, they got their pension. I've made it.
Right, right. Or I graduated college, I've made it. Everything else now. Well, in this model, we want to make sure we encourage this aspect of mentorship.
I guess this would be a good. We talked about it a lot. The church isn't a one-man show.
Right.
The church is a body that desires growth.
Absolutely.
Together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look at this idea of, this person has those aspects that, they had the desire. They had the growth mindset. They have the spiritual growth. They're putting mental energy in. And really, as we look at the desire and the growth mindset of this person can really mentor these people over here, getting them to this person. And this person can mentor these people over here to get to this person. And it flows.
Sure.
Like a flow chart type of deal.
And then it's kind of once you get to be this person, not only are you equipped to, but you almost have a desire. Because
absolutely.
You see these people and you're like, man, I remember being out here. Or I see the people struggling that they don't know how to move forward. So what can I do? How can I walk alongside them? What relationships can I build?
Right. And it's it is, I think, progressive. You have a love.
Yeah.
You have a greater love. And now you have this ultimate love.
Yeah.
I think of Jeremiah. I have this fire stored up and I have to let it out.
Yeah.
Because maybe this person at one time was that person.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And this person at one time were these people, and they see their ability now for discipleship, for mentorship, for love, for guidance in that. So not only are they continuing to grow and develop and have this mental energy, this effort that they're putting into it, but now they're applying those things to other people, into investing into other people.
It's, the overflowing, the burning fire, the cup that overflows, and, all these different things that we can look at as like biblical imagery that's presented to us.
Yeah.
It's almost like here we're trying to figure out what to think about. We kind of start thinking about it there, and then once we're spiritually mature, the thoughts of Christ just pervade everything we think about.
Right.
It's no longer a segment of our life. It is our life.
Absolutely. And we look at this sometimes and we go, man, how?
Yeah.
How do we get there?
Right.
With the craziness of our lives, how do we get there?
Yeah.
How do we move down this progression? And as we are going to look at some people in the Bible, whether it's on Wednesday night or whether you're listening to Dan's class in Romans, or if it's a Sunday morning class that we're talking about it, or a sermon even that it could come up in, and we're looking at biblical examples of this, it's important that we try to apply these things to us.
Yeah.
And each of us are at a different stage of our journey. And, sometimes I think we look at these people that are already here and we look at them differently.
Yeah.
And understanding that they were
I could never be
right.
And you could, if you've got that person in your head already, I could never be like them.
Right.
Well, they didn't get there overnight.
Right.
They had to work through these things on their own as well.
And as we're going to really see that come out when we study certain people, where we first are introduced to them in the Bible, as opposed to where maybe the last word we hear from them in the Bible, the difference they've made. And it wasn't always easy.
Yeah. And it's funny because we're both holding back because we both have all these things that we're like, we could talk about this person.
Right.
We're going to save that for class.
Right. And that,
But I would say, who are you thinking about? And maybe share some of those, because as you think about that point A to point B being drastically different in someone's life, who's someone in the Bible that you're already going, I remember.
Right.
It kind of makes sense with the story that I remember about.
Yeah. And who it is. They're already probably talking at home going,
well,
that's just like.
Yeah. And there's a lot of examples.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear what those are. Feel free to share.
So just understand, this is kind of the thought process that we as your ministers are trying to work through, to train, to teach, to encourage, to build up this body. And we want to be the Broadway Church of Christ full of people who are spiritually minded.
Oh, absolutely.
Or wherever you are in your relationship. I know we get a lot of YouTube watchers that maybe aren't members here at Broadway. But where are you in your spiritual process? And maybe something that we could encourage you to do is to look at this chart, this model, this whatever you want to call it, this chicken scratch on a whiteboard in Dustin's office, right? Understand that we don't have it all figured out either.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to work through it. But where would you place yourself on this? Yeah. And honestly evaluate, am I here? Maybe you're still someone that wants to get on the highway.
Yeah.
Maybe you're over here and you're growing and you have this desire and you're spending a lot of mental effort. Man, I would encourage you to continue on to that. Maybe you're down here in this spiritual mature group. Look around for those people around you that need to be mentored, that want to be mentored.
Yeah.
And do it in love and kindness, and put the pointy finger away and hug them and show them and mentor them, as you see Paul did with Timothy.
Yeah.
And that's a great example as you get into this mentorship, as Paul even called Timothy, that Timothy was his child in the faith.
Right.
And what a great example.
Yeah, and that's the core thing is the spiritually minded person never feels like they've plateaued or they've reached the finish line until the finish line comes.
Absolutely.
It's that constant growth and desire because, again, we all think about those people in our life.
Yeah.
And we can think about those mature people. A key marker of them is if you ask them, hey, do you have it all figured out? Their answer is always no.
Yeah.
Do they know more than they did before? Are they more comfortable than they were before? Or confident, I think is a better way of putting it. They'll say, sure, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that self-deprecating because I don't know anything. It was that there is so much there for us.
Of course.
We can never reach the end.
And really, the more we study our Bibles, the more excited we're going to get about it.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing how often you sit and you study a passage and you go, wow, I've read this 50 times before, and you read it one more time with a little different perspective at a little different stage in your life, and you go, wow, that's powerful, that's impactful.
Yeah. We read how they've transformed, and then even more so because of the way that our brains work, when we can see that in someone in front of us.
Incredible.
I mean, it's not we want to move through this because we want to feel good.
Right.
It's also, I want to be part of a group where I can witness that or be part of that, be some encouraging factor somewhere, because it is a great thing. Dan always says, we're in the soul business.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you see a soul growing closer to its creator.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing.
And that's what we're striving to do, is thank souls.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
maybe this spurs some thoughts. We hope so.
Absolutely.
We've said, think about people in your life maybe.
Yep.
Think about where you are.
Yeah.
What are some Bible characters? Maybe what are some people from the history of the church, from the history of God's people in general that you see this exhibited in? You may hit on some that Dustin's going to talk about here in a few weeks.
We look forward to it. And if you see something in this that you go, man, that's a great idea, or I have another example of it, we'd love to hear about those things as well.
Sure.
As we're striving to grow also.
Yeah. What are some markers? What are some examples that you might put under these categories or different things like that? Yeah.
Perfect.
So I'm going to put up another version of this that we were working on earlier. That way it'll come up on the screen. You can see all the details. Pause the video, leave it up, and then if you're watching live, you can comment. We'll leave the chat open for a little bit longer. If they're watching on YouTube, they can comment anytime.
Absolutely.
We monitor the comments and talk with people all the time. So whether you're watching it here at the beginning of February 2022 or months after.
Or whenever.
I mean, the conversation's always ongoing.
Yeah, we need to continually spiritually grow. So,
absolutely. And
don't mind my chicken scratch. Hopefully you can read it all.
Just if you're on a device, pinch Zoom, it'll be all right. Well, thanks, Dustin.
It's great. Hope you guys stay safe out there. If you guys need anything, let us know. We'll be praying for you. Yeah, and if you have any comments or questions, like we said, it's always there in the chat. But if you want to call the church office is available. If you want to email us, info at broadwaycoc.com. It comes to me, you, and Courtney, and then we can forward it on to people from there. Absolutely. But and if you are local,
yeah,
probably a good time to remind them one more time.
Oh, sure, yeah. We're changing here at Broadway Church of Christ the order of our worship service and Bible class, but at 9:30, we will have our Bible classes. Yep. At 10:30, we'll have worship service. And we would love for people to join us.
And what anytime. A great time during Bible class to work on this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like we said, Dan always has a great class. Yeah. Right now in this spring quarter, he's continuing through the study of Romans.
Yep.
You're going to be working on some questions that are pressing questions to the people that are up there.
Yeah, you've got questions. God got answers.
There we go. I know our ladies are going to be starting having a Bible class about kind of the full picture of the Bible, how the story goes from beginning to end.
Right.
So there's a lot of great opportunities. Our kids are studying the life of Jesus right now.
Yeah.
So
get excited about it. This is awesome stuff.
Lots of study opportunities.
Awesome stuff.
And don't let it just be an intellectual study. Let it seep in.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And grow you. We'll come back to the concept.
Yeah.
But thanks again for joining us. We hope this has been encouraging, beneficial.
Yeah.
And you'll be seeing more of this thought a lot in the
We look forward
weeks.
to it. All right.